Warning, the following video contains discussions around depression and suicide and can be hard to listen to for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Happy September, everyone. I apologize for the ominous lighting scheme, but I promise you, it's for a rather different kind of video. As some of you who know me know, I struggle with chronic depression. I have fought with this since I was about 8 years old. And along with chronic depression, fortunately, comes the reality of suicidal thoughts and what they termed back in the day as suicidal ideation. Basically meaning that I was very prone to any kind of suggestion that I might want to ever harm myself. Now, this September, or every September, is what's known as Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. And so I wanted to use my platform to talk about my time and my experiences with the disease. I wanted to talk a little bit about depression, a little bit about my history, and a little bit about what you can do to try to help those out there who are struggling with the same thing. The first thing I want to cover is that after living with depression for over 23 years at this point, is that depression manifests itself in many different ways. It can be anything from somebody not doing simplistic tasks, like the idea of even getting out of bed and brushing your teeth becomes so monumentous that you might as well be trying to push a car when it's not in neutral, or lift 100 pounds of weight. It sometimes can feel like your body just weighs a ton. Can't really do anything about it. Depression also can manifest itself in very subtle ways. Things like the friend who's normally happy-go-lucky and jumping is still happy, but maybe they're not as jumpy. Maybe you have someone who always greets you with a, "Hey man, how's it hanging?" Turns into just, "Hey man, how you doing?" The other problem with depression is that people with depression often feel like they're a bother. They feel like they are intruding on the lives of people around them. Simply asking, "Hey, are you okay?" will usually just answer, "Yeah, I'm fine," or "Not really, but it'll be okay," because we don't want you to worry. My biggest thing when dealing with someone with depression, or my biggest advice even, is to, instead of asking if they're okay, maybe ask them if they would like companionship. Something as simple as, "Hey, I'm coming pick you up, let's go walk by the river." Or, "Hey, I'm coming hang out." You don't have a say in the matter. Obviously don't force yourself upon people, but a lot of times asking how someone is doing isn't going to solve the problems that a lot of people think that it solves. Some of the best times in my life were when my friends knew that I needed them, and they kind of just took action to be there for me, as opposed to waiting for the invitation to be there for me. In terms of suicide and the harsh reality of it, I have attempted the act probably about 3 or 4 times, but I have been in and out of mental institutions since I was about 13 years old. I've been in them 9 times, 9 different mental hospitals. Every time was significantly worse than the last. As you grow older, they have a lot less patience with you, for sure. That's one of the big things as well, is that a lot of times when it comes down to suicide and the thoughts of doing it, people have less patience when adults have it than they do with kids, almost as if you grow older, your life or your struggles become less valuable, because, I mean, everybody has struggles. What do you mean you're sad? Of course you're sad. Have you seen the state of the world? But Depression and suicide are not the result of just being sad. They're the result of a chronic, crippling illness that makes you feel like there's no way out. My suicidal thoughts are so bad that it's the first thing I think about when I wake up in the morning. You've heard of people being like, "Fuck, I'm still alive," as some sort of joke, but the reality of it is that you wake up a lot of days wishing you didn't. It's another day where you have to face down the harsh realities of the world, and sometimes it feels like the only escape. I myself have been struggling financially for years at this point, and one of the biggest problems with that is that it never seems to stop. You know, you get ahead, you might get ahead, and you'll be ahead for like a week, and then everybody else needs money again. Everybody else needs something, and it can be really tough, really hard even, when you work as hard as you do and you think that you finally got it and just something goes wrong. That's another thing. That's actually another thing. I was one of the things that I told myself, or been telling myself for years, is that I don't think I'll ever deserve to be happy. You know, it's one of those things where every time I'm happy, every time something's going good for me, something happens to mess it up, and it's a horrible feeling. It's probably the harshest feeling that anyone could ever go through. You know, you get a good job and then something happens like COVID that takes away that good job. You get into a good relationship and it turns out that they're abusive or narcissistic, and you start to wonder if you're worth it, right? If all you are is a tool to people. A long line of abusive relationships can do that to you. My most recent relationship turned out everything they said was pretty much a lie, because they just wanted to use me to get to other people. So, you know, it really makes you think, like, is there any point to what I'm doing, to how I'm feeling and stuff like that? I think, you know, when you talk about depression, it's so hard to do, because it's so hard to describe accurately and in a way that makes people understand it. And what's further is that it's even more difficult to like accept reality around it. You know, when you're chronically depressed, you know you need help. But especially in America, where the healthcare is god awful, you know, getting the help you need, the medications you need, or the therapy you need is basically impossible for low income people. But I deal with it, and I think that's the resonance of many depressed people. We just deal with it. We wake up every day. We wish we were dead. But then we look at all the things we have to take care of. You know, if I died, how would that affect everybody else in my life, right? My mom, my granny. I'm sure my cat wouldn't be very happy. He loves me. You know, it would be hard on him. On top of that, I have a pretty significant fan base. The channel you're seeing this on doesn't really have a lot of views or a lot of subscribers, but my other channel does. It's not a shameless self-promo. I'm just trying to show you guys, you know, I have a big audience. And I have a lot of people that care about me, and I don't want to let them down. And unfortunately, while that is a motivating factor to help keep me alive, it's also a form of resentment. You know, sometimes when I just really want to end it all, and I think about all the people who I would hurt if I did it, kind of makes me curse them sometimes, you know? Like, why do you fucking people have to make this so hard? I said I was going to talk about how to deal with your friends or your loved ones that might have depression, and, you know, suicidal thoughts and stuff. One way to not deal with it is to tell them how their suicide would affect you, because they know, right? We know how it would affect you. But unfortunately, when you talk about how our acts would affect you, how our suicide would affect you, all it does is create a kind of anger, you know, because it makes it feel like you're making it about you. Like, oh, you would be sad if I was gone. You would be crushed if I was gone. Well, I'm crushed now, you know? Like, how do I deal with that? That's one of the big things that a lot of people feel when they're talking about, when they think about suicide. It's so hard because everybody's always, me. I would be sad if you left. I would be sad if you died. I would be sad if I'm sad now. That's the point. So it's probably better to just kind of remind them, of reasons to be around, of reasons to live and everything. And sometimes it's hard to find those reasons, I think. Sometimes you don't have to remind them of anything. Sometimes just a hug, being held for a little while can help. Even if it's temporary. This month, this Suicide Month, Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, I want everyone who doesn't struggle with these things on a daily or consistent basis, I should say. I feel like realistically everybody has those thoughts once in a while, or maybe I'm just that fucked up that I can't imagine a life where you don't have those thoughts. But this month I want you to remember that good things in life, or even a good life, doesn't necessarily stop the issue. It doesn't necessarily stop the problem. There was a time in my life where I was the happiest I could possibly be. My life was peaceful. I had a job I enjoyed. I had friends I hung out with every night. I got to come home to home-cooked meals from my granny. I had no real troubles. I had no real bills to worry about. All my money was mine. But I was still sad. Still depressed. I was still anxious. Because depression doesn't care how good your life is, or how good you have things. Depression does not care about who you are or what's going on. All it cares about is hurting you. And I say it as if it's some sort of separate thing, like some sort of entity, some sort of being, but that's how it feels like sometimes. It genuinely feels like a thing standing over your shoulder, just ready to hurt you at any given point. Just be patient with us. Be patient with the people you love who might be struggling with this. Be as wholesome as you possibly can, I guess is the word. And more importantly, just remember that if someone does take their life, they didn't do it to hurt you. They did it to free themselves. And if you're out there and you're struggling with this kind of thing, know that you're not alone. There are hotlines out there that are very helpful. I have used them quite a few times myself. The Suicide Prevention Hotline has been wonderful to me. The people who work that are incredibly stable. And there is always someone out there for you to talk to. Just remember, never let your light go out.